Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
What is going on? How y'all doing tonight? This is the Club of the Man 1993. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And we are back here for some more baseball news to catch on. This is a video as I'm trying to get as much baseball news that I would like to quickly cover caught up as we get ready to head into trade deadline season. The All-Star game is behind us now. The National League won. Elias Diaz is the National League MVP, which is pretty cool because I actually know somebody whose wife's cousin, believe it or not, is actually good friends with Elias Diaz. I almost got to meet him. He was with the Pirates. But unfortunately, he did not show up while I was at the place that day, unfortunately. But cool to see him win. Congratulations to Elias Diaz. This video, though, we're going to catch up on some injury notes. Now, again, some of these players have been activated, so this is more so kind of like what big names have taken some trips to the injured list. Some are still on it, some are not. And the reason why I keep the ones that are no longer on it is because I prepared these graphics, had them prepared for a while, but then, of course, life got busy, and as I keep saying, I just didn't get to it. So I'm more so going to just talk about why they were there, how long they were out for, and then they're back now, and yada, yada, yada. All that jazz. And speaking of jazz, we get into our first topic, which is Marlins rising star, Chisholm Jr. Jazz, who I seen them as they're trying to make him like the next franchise star. He was originally a second baseman, and they've been trying to move him into center field this year, which he's had mediocre like fielding results. He's still adjusting to his new position. But he was recently out for a while with turf toe when he collided into the wall while attempting to make a catch back in May. His estimated timetable given was 4 to 6 weeks. He came back at the long end of that window. He came back towards the end of June. Again, he has struggled a little bit early on this season trying to adjust outfield. But of course, he's getting his stride back as best he can. And of course, he'll continue looking to get into a better groove offensively as he adjusts to his new position. And I do agree, again, it does seem like Chisholm Jr. is definitely one of the next upcoming stars. The Marlins trying to make him definitely like a superstar, their franchise player. Like, probably in a few years, if the Marlins aren't contending, he'll probably be traded, but they are seeming to put a lot of stock into him. And they have some other veterans like Gene Segura, Luis Arraez, who I pronounce his last name, who was just flirting with 400, dropped down to like 383. But this is a guy I think they're looking to possibly build their ball club around if they want to lock him up long term. He was on the cover for MLB The Show 2023, which I will hopefully be getting that very soon. But yeah, he is back. He was out for 4 to 6 weeks with toe turf, but he's back. And again, hopefully he can turn his season around. Someone, though, who may not be back for a while, which is very unfortunate, is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, I believe, has been out since June 3rd. And originally, I guess they thought he had sprained his right big toe. Well, it turns out, though, reportedly he has suffered a torn ligament in his big toe. He's still feeling pain. Well, this article was the latest article about him was from June 24th. He said that he still feels pain when he walks, and he might start some limited baseball-related activity soon. But he won't be able to run until he can at least walk without some discomfort. Of course, there's no true timetable for the return. Of course, they're hoping he'd be around the All-Star break. I haven't really heard much more about it, but yeah, this just blows. Judge discussed his injury, saying that it's not going to be perfect here in a couple weeks. Once we can manage the pain, we're going to be in a good spot. I don't think too many people in here have torn a ligament in their toe. If it was a quad, we have a better answer. If it's an oblique or hamstring, we have answers and a time for that. With how unique this injury is, and it being my back foot, which I push off of when I run off of, it's a tough spot. So yeah, it sounds like it's a unique injury, and that's a bummer. Aaron Judge, of course, had one of the best seasons, and probably the best season that he'll ever have in his career last year, when he set the American League record with 62 home runs, and he signed a 9-year deal, and he became the Yankees captain. And there was a couple seasons after his impressive rookie year when he hit 52 home runs, which held the record until the following year when Pete Alonso, newsflash, we'll talk about him in a second also, broke his record the year after with 53 for most home runs by a rookie. He did have 2 back-to-back seasons that were plagued with injuries. And just before he got injured, he was getting very hot. He has 19 homers so far this year. So he probably was on the pace to probably and hopefully break the 40 home run mark. I don't know if he will now. Again, I really haven't heard any updates on when he's going to return. But again, it's one of those injuries that it's very rare, and it's not really much of a timetable return. And again, it's his back foot. It's a foot he pushes off to run with. So it is going to be trouble for him to run for sure. And you can't have a guy out there with a bad foot, unfortunately. So I do hope Aaron Judge does get to come back soon. Again, I hope he maybe at least play enough games and stay hot. At least crack the 30 home run mark. Keep him going. But yeah, it's a bummer because again, he was injury plagued for a couple years, and then of course we had the shortened 2020 season. But he started really getting out of his funk. Had an outstanding year last year, just for it to get derailed for a little bit with this torn ligament in his toe. Again, they're hoping he'll be back by the end of the year, but again, it seems like they're very unsure of what to do for a timetable for this injury. So that's a big blow. What else is a big blow? The Texas Rangers have lost their ace for a year, as Jacob deGrom, back in the beginning of June, will undergo Tommy John surgery to repair a tear in his ulnar collateral ligament. And that of course, again, will leave him out for probably about a good 12 to 18 months as he takes to recover from Tommy John surgery. It is terrible for deGrom, who just recently turned 35. He established himself just a couple years ago as arguably one of the best pitchers ever when he was with the Mets. From 2014 to 2020, deGrom had tossed 1,169 2/3 innings with a 2.61 ERA and a 29.2% strikeout rate. He won back-to-back Cy Young Awards in 2018 and 2019, tossed over 200 innings each campaign with ERAs of 1.70 and 2.43. However, since then, though, he's had health concerns. Although he had a minuscule 1.08 ERA in 2021 through 15 starts, he landed on the DL. And then, again, he didn't return at any point in that season, but seemed to be healthy coming into 2022. Then he suffered stress reaction in his scapula during spring training and missed more time. And he would not return until August last year, where he made 11 starts and had a 3.08 ERA. deGrom, though, still had 1 year remaining on his contract, but he would then have he would then test free agency and sign with the Rangers. And then, unfortunately, he was off to a good start. He made 6 starts with a 2.67 ERA. But then, of course, he was placed on the injured list at the end of April due to elbow inflammation. And he was just transferred to the 60-day injured list as well. And again, it will be a while, of course, until we see Jacob deGrom again. Bummer. Definitely a big, big bummer. The Rangers, who are showing some promise. Let me just double check something here, because I thought they had a pretty good record. They had a lot of guys in the All-Star game. Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, who also missed some time to injury. Because the Rangers are in first place in the American League West. And he was definitely a big part of that. And again, I do like the fact that the Rangers have Bruce Bochy in there as well, as to how successful a manager he is. But yeah, that blows. That really, really blows for Jacob deGrom. Again, he could be on borrowed time, unfortunately, because of his injuries. And of course, Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa was the one who kept bouncing from team to team because of his failing his physicals. I'm surprised Jacob deGrom didn't fail physical and have contract issues, especially with his injuries the past couple seasons. But of course, hope Jacob deGrom recovers. Hopefully we can see him still pitching next year at some point. We'll have to wait and see. And then more news as far as the elbow goes for pitchers. Pirates starter Vince Velasquez, back on June 9th, 2023, who also most likely missed about 11 to 12 months, underwent season-ending elbow surgery. Apparently, though, it was not a Tommy John. It sounded like it's not clear what exactly the surgery is. But it's not. It basically is not Tommy John, but it's close, of course, to it, because with how severe it is, he's going to be missing 11 to 12 months. Big blow, of course, though, because Velasquez actually was doing fairly consistent, decently well, in his first stint with the Pirates. He made 8 starts with a 3.86 ERA. Not bad. He was definitely part of the Pirates' hot start earlier this season. Now, of course, the Pirates have fallen back in their, 8 games under 500 now? Bummer. Hopefully they'll at least, crack 70 wins maybe and show a little bit of some improvement. But, yeah. Again, he seemed like he was kind of like an overrated player when the Pirates signed him. But, he obviously does have the experience. He was somewhat of a contributor to the Pirates' starting rotation, but of course, again, he probably will miss some time in 2024 as well. But if he does stick with the Pirates when he comes back, hopefully he will continue to have a little bit more of an impact on the team, like he was when he was still around. So hopefully Vince Velasquez comes back healthy at some point in 2024. Now, this one was very brief, wasn't as long as I thought, but he is back, and that is Mets slugger and 2-time home run derby champion, Pete Alonso, who is somebody that I think knows how to handle the derby. He didn't win again this year, but I still feel like he's a guy who knows how to handle it. But he was originally supposed to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. After he was hit on the left wrist by a Charlie Morton fastball back on June the 7th with a sprain and bone bruise. But he came back June the 18th he was. So he recovered quickly. He's back. He still hit, I think like 4 home runs after that, I believe it is. So hopefully he'll crack the 40 home run mark again this season. As he was, of course, in the lead for a league in home runs before he got injured. And, of course, Shohei Ohtani got hot after that and now has just surpassed everybody and has 32 home runs this season, leading the league. Matt Olson's leading the National League, though, with 29. But Polar Bear, he could probably catch up if he really wanted to. I think he will eventually. Not so good news, though, for this veteran, Trevor Rosenthal. Trevor Rosenthal has been injured a lot since 2018. He's barely gotten much time to play the past like 5 years or so. It might be time for him to hang it up. Because actually, I just found out also the other day that back on July 7th, this was before I made this graphic, Rosenthal actually did get released by the Tigers. And he had signed a minor deal with the Tigers in March. And he literally tossed 3 minor league innings before he underwent elbow surgery in mid-June. Again, it just continues, just the blows of injuries he's had. He's thrown only 39 innings in the majors since 2018 through injuries such as Tommy John surgery, thoracic outlet syndrome surgery, and hip surgery. And the latest of this latest elbow surgery isn't known. It could be one setback too many for Rosenthal. Whether or not he may consider retirement at the age of 33. I hate to say this, he probably should. I'm sorry. It's just like if you are constantly getting injured like that much, and you've only pitched 39 innings since 2018. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Like, he is super injury prone. And again, he's experienced. He's had a history of being a great closer, but with this many injuries, he may not be reliable. People may not want to sign him because of how injury prone he is, unfortunately. I think it might be time for Trevor Rosenthal to consider retiring. I mean, if he doesn't want to retire, that's his choice. If he still wants to try to play again, that's his choice. I'm not going to knock him, but it does seem like his time may be limited. It's very likely it could be. So that is sad. Again, because he was definitely a solid relief pitcher, especially with his time with the Cardinals. Again, of course, I remember experiencing him a lot when the Pirates and the Cardinals were big-time rivals when the Pirates were contenders. So if this is it, I do feel sorry for Trevor Rosenthal. It's just like I said, with his pile of injuries the past 5 years, this may be it for him. Again, he was already released from his deal with the Tigers. Don't know if anybody will pick him up for 2024. We'll just have to wait and see. So, of course, my thoughts and prayers are, of course, with Trevor Rosenthal. Hoping he recovers. And if he gets a chance to pitch again, I do hope he does. But if not, he's had a great career, and it wouldn't surprise me if he decides to retire. This one kind of sucks also. Astros have a couple injury bugs on this list. The first one is all-star slugger Yordan Alvarez, who back on June 14th was diagnosed with a oblique strain, and he's likely to miss at least 4 weeks. Now, that is about a month ago. There's not been any word yet on a return. He could return to the All-Star break. I haven't heard any updates on his injury. But yeah, that sucks. Again, Alvarez is one of the young upcoming stars. He was putting on an MVP year last year, and then he kind of slowed up a little bit. But he is, again, a special type of talent. Young, limited DH, but I feel like since some of the Astros' big names have left, like George Springer, Carlos Correa, a few others, I feel like he's been getting a little bit more time on the field. But the word was when he first got diagnosed the injury, it's going to take at least 2 weeks for them to get a feel of how it's healing. You just take those 2 weeks and then another week to figure out when he starts to have some activity and how his body's responding. That's 3 weeks right there. You're looking at once he starts swinging the bat, maybe it's 4 weeks or so. So, again, he was hitting .277 with 17 home runs this season. And so far in his career, he has hit .293 with 115 home runs, averaging about 44 per 162 games in the early stages of his season. So we'll see. He should be back soon. Again, I haven't heard any updates, but I am hoping he does come back soon. and he does, put up solid numbers for the rest of the year. Because again, he is a guy also that I always have my eyes on. I'm always hoping to see his numbers up top. Because I know this guy, when he is healthy, he is a monster at the plate. Was also unfortunate, too, for the second year in a row, the injury bug bites Mitch Haniger, who was in his first season with the Giants, and unfortunately, he fractured a ulna in his forearm. He underwent surgery back on June the 16th. He's expected to miss 10 weeks. And he could make a return sometime in September, saying that the season's not season-ending. But, of course, he even lost some months last season due to a high ankle sprain. And he had a core of injuries in 2020, when it was a short season, but he wiped out his entire season. Had a career year in 2021 with the Mariners. And unfortunately, it's just been injury bugs for him ever since. Of course, he struggled over 160 trips this season. He was just hitting .230 with 4 home runs, and while walking a career low 5.6% rate, which sucks again. But again, it could be the injuries that are hampering him. But maybe 2024 he will get healthy again. I do hope he does return to form in 2021. He was definitely an exciting player with the Mariners that season. Sucks they didn't keep him, but he could still be a contributing bat to the San Francisco Giants when he is healthy. More Astros bad news. Back on June 14th, it was announced that starting pitcher Lance McCullers Jr., who hasn't had a specific return yet when in 2024, but he's going to begin throwing in November. But back on June 14th, Lance McCullers underwent season-ending forearm surgery on a flexor tendon, and removed a bone spur and, more significantly, repaired his damaged right flexor tendon. Of course, he has had his setbacks in 2023. Did he even pitch in 2023? I don't know. I'm reading the thing here. Last month, the team was looking at the All-Star break as a very rough estimate. He hasn't pitched this year. He's been rehabbing a muscle strain that he suffered early in spring training. But he then suffered a pair of setbacks. He went from mound work to throwing off flat ground, then was shut down, and then another MRI determined that he has to shut the book on this season, unfortunately. Big blow for the Astros again, who are hanging in there towards the top. But of course, they're dealing with, they've been having a season with injuries, but they're still hanging there at the top. Again, the Rangers, though, are giving them a challenge, which, again, I like seeing a fresh team kind of, get up there. And again, they have Bruce Bochy as well, so kind of interested to see if they get to the World Series, because they should have won in 2011, but the Cardinals did. But, respect, they're a good team. And for David Freese also. But yeah, the injury bug has hurt them a little bit, but they're still hanging there. But hopefully sometime next year, Lance McCullers Jr. will be back in the Astros rotation. Now, this one I'm a little confused about here. I'm not 100% sure what happened. So, Max Muncy, 4 weeks ago, on June 16th, was put on the 10-day injury list, retroactive with a left hamstring strain. He had been hobbling by the hamstring for the past few days and hoping to avoid the injured list, but he isn't at full strength. And he was kind of having like a little bit of a comeback season. He did struggle with the batting average last year, so he kind of had a not as bad but somewhat similar Cody Bellinger season. But then it was announced not long later that he was expected to return. Actually, okay, I'm sorry. He wasn't out for too long because he was he was put on the injured list retroactive, and he came back June the 24th and was in the lineup at third base for the Dodgers. So he is back, and hopefully he will continue on have a decent season with the Dodgers. Again, kind of bouncing back a little bit, but the Dodgers, of course, are kind of having some unexpected contention with the Arizona Diamondbacks this year. Not be the San Diego Padres, but it's not been their season so far. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Max Muncy had some brief time on the injured list, but it didn't last as long as they thought. Some more bad news for the Pirates, but good news is he is back, though. Bryan Reynolds was put on the injured list with a lower back strain, and he was just on there for 10 days. And of course, he just re-signed his big multi-year deal earlier in the year, hitting .279. The power numbers haven't quite been there as I thought. He got off to a very strong start this season, but then he kind of a little bit power outage, but he's still, hanging in there, chipping away, playing decent for the Pirates, who again are showing some life of eventual contention, but of course fell off. But again, maybe with him back in the lineup, we'll see if O'Neal Cruz returns before the end of the season. They can show some light and maybe hover around 500 to end the season. But this is the last, of course, we have for the Pirates injuries. But yeah, he was out for just like over the minimum of 10 days, but he wasn't out for too long. Thank God. And then we have Clayton Kershaw, who was placed on the injured list retroactive to June 30th due to soreness in his shoulder. There was no indication it's a worrisome injury. He just felt soreness for a few days, and then the Dodgers held him off until it's easy to determine where he'll be able to make a start in the Pirates, which won't happen. But he was throwing some long toss, so they're just sounds like they're trying to downplay the concern for Clayton Kershaw, who definitely has shown some signs he's kind of on not as much time as he thought. He's signed like multiple, 1-year deals with the Dodgers the past couple seasons. He's still a solid left-handed pitcher. He's nowhere close to who he was when he was an MVP pitcher. He has teased retirement. I hope it doesn't happen yet, because isn't he almost to 3,000 strikeouts? Let me double check here. I thought he was closing in, and if anybody should be getting 3,000 strikeouts, it definitely should be Clayton Kershaw with the Hall of Fame career he's had. Yeah, he has an ERA of 2.55 this year. He's 10-4, 105. He's almost there. He has 2,912 strikeouts. And, he was assigned to the All-Star team, but of course he didn't pitch because of his injury. I think he also was on the injured list also earlier in the year as well, it looks like. But just some minor injuries, but those nagging ones eventually could get to come up to bite, basically. He was feeling good though. As of July 8th, he was feeling good after throwing a few pitches off the mound. He could be eligible to return July the 15th. So it's possible because they did make his injury stint retroactive. And again, still a solid season. 10-4, 2.55 ERA. Hopefully he gets to 3,000 strikeouts before the end of the season. But, he basically has Hall of Fame status locked up on him. Another big blow also here. Back on July 5th, Mike Trout, Angels, suffered yet another injury. How many years in a row has Trout had like a shortened injury season, unfortunately? He was placed on an injury list with a left hand fracture. And then he had surgery on it. And he's going to be out for 4 to 8 weeks. So maybe either the beginning of August or end of August, he will be back. But of course, that just limits him as well. All these guys who just had like monster megastar numbers are now getting injured left and right. Especially also because I heard some rumors about Nelson Cruz that I'll have to look into before I do my transactions video. Where it looks like that he probably won't get the 500 homers. I'm hoping to God Mike Trout, who I think has 368, I think now, gets there. Because Giancarlo Stanton's struggling big time. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, of course, if, Trout can, of course, stay healthy and he get the 500 homers. But he's had his injuries the past several years have nagged at him. But Mike Trout should be back in probably about early to mid-August. Sometime in August, Trout will be back. Hopefully. Back on July 5th, also, the Kansas City Royals announced that longtime starter Zack Greinke got placed on the 15-day DL with some shoulder tendonitis. Doesn't seem to be super serious, but it looks like that he could be back after the All-Star break, even though, again, it's been a very lifeless season for the Kansas City Royals, who are out of July 5th, were 25-61. Ouch. I didn't get to see what the Athletics record were, because Athletics got hot after they played the Pirates, and they had the worst record for a while. But, of course, he basically has struggled this year. He has a 5.44 ERA, thanks to a pair of clunkers in his last 3 starts. And he's been signing just the 1-year contracts. And then, of course, you're wondering if maybe he is coming towards the end of his career as well, and he's going to finish where he started. But we'll see what happens when he makes his return, which hopefully could be sometime very, very soon, it sounds like. It's not too severe, just wanted to clear some spot for him. Another injury that happened for the Houston Astros, Jose Altuve, who already missed the first 2 months of the season with an injury, got placed back on July 6th, got placed on the injury list again due to discomfort in his left oblique. And the move is retroactive to July 4th. Though Altuve said that the MRI has shown good news, as the issue is more minor than he was expecting. He wanted to put a specific timeline on his return, but he says he's hoping to be back shortly after the All-Star break. So hopefully it's not too long for Altuve either. Again, he missed 2 months to open up the season after he suffered an injury, I think in the World Baseball Classic or Spring Training, 1 of the 2. But hopefully he'll be back and be able to finish the season with Yordan Alvarez, who will hopefully be back too. And then finally, the last 2 pieces of news involve the Pirates. First off, Andrew McCutchen, not traded yet. Do not trade him. Do not trade him, Pirates. You'd be making a stupid decision. But Andrew McCutchen got placed on the injury list retroactive to July 6th due to some right elbow inflammation. He's been nagged by ulnar soreness for a few weeks, and the club apparently decided to give him some time to rest and recover. And of course, McCutchen will miss as few as 5 games, and if he's able to return when eligible. Again, he's hitting .268 with 10 homers and 316 trips this season. You know, not a bad year with the Pirates. He already mentioned a few months ago he intends on playing in 2024 and hopefully will be re-signing with the Pirates. Although there's been some rumblings that the Texas Rangers have expressed some interest in Kutch, which I would say no. No. Let him finish his career where he became a hero. I'm dead serious about that. And finally, the last piece of injury news is also the Pirates. And that is third baseman Ke'Bryan Hayes also went on the injury list last week as well, as he is dealing with lower back inflammation. He had the same issue, and he was on the injury list briefly on June 28th. He was reinstated last night, the night before, but then apparently he wasn't fully healed. So they put Hayes back on the injury list. No timetable for his return as well. Yeah, so Hayes is improving. He's slowly but surely getting better. I mean, again, he's not... I keep saying this again. I've always, been interested by Ke'Bryan Hayes. I know he could definitely be a superstar. But, again, my only problem with him is the fact that he is still kind of inconsistent. And I still think, because let me see, he's batting .252. Should be getting closer to like .270, .280, I feel like. I know he can do better. He's a speedster. He is a spark plug towards the top of the order the Pirates need, but he just hasn't quite had that big breakthrough season yet. And he needs to definitely have one. Because again, it's starting to look more and more like they did jump the gun on him. I still think they gave him that big 8-year contract a little too soon. But hopefully, again, when he comes back, and hopefully in the next couple of years, he will begin to improve more and more. As again, the Pirates again are looking, again, I'm going to say this. Although they're probably going to have a losing season this year, they collapsed a little. they're starting to look like they're getting on the right track. I'll give them that. They have pieces they're using to build, and veterans there to help as well. So we shall see, and hopefully Key Brian Hayes returns very soon. And that, my friends, is just some injury news on some recent baseball injuries. Again, I think definitely the biggest one that's very concerning right now, we do not know when he's coming back for sure, is definitely Aaron Judge. We have some people, of course, who have the injuries that ended the season, like Lance McCullers Jr., Vince Velasquez, Jacob deGrom with the Tommy John surgery. Dang it, poor Jacob. And a few others, some minor ones, but hopefully those ones who are out long term do recover well and come back to full form next year in 2024. And that, my friends, that's my recent baseball injuries video. We discussed several injuries. Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below about all my thoughts and your thoughts as well. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at @thecluboftheman93. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at @thecluboftheman1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself.